going in just about a minute. Do want to let everyone know tonight that the meeting is being videotaped. So when we do get to the homeowner session, if you could please clearly state your name and your address that you represent, and when we get to the homeowner section, just to let everybody know.
I have one announcement. I just ask that everybody abide by the agenda, and if anybody has anything to speak about, one at a time, no shouting out, no name calling, anything like that. I ask that it remain professional and one person speak at a time.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got a full agenda, so let's call the meeting to order at 6:30. All those.
By Robert's Rules of Order, I object. We are not Cibola Vista Community Association and Cibola Vista Non-Commercial Property Owners Association.
We have never followed Robert's Rule of Order, and we are both of these kind.
So
This
in
board
other
is
words,
not.
it's going to be a free-for-all. We can't follow Robert's Rules of Order.
We've always done it.
Great, then I make a motion that we adjourn. If you're objecting to the agenda and the name on the script, I'm making a motion to adjourn.
I would like the name on the agenda changed and not have it for the record, because it has not been on the record ever, going back to 2010 in open meetings. That's right.
Is anybody
Ken,
going
you
to
were on
second
board then, weren't you?
Is anybody going to second his motion?
Michelle?
Well, he motioned to open, so there is no motion to.
He's had a motion
But
to
you're
close.
saying, you're saying no.
I never opened because nobody seconded my open. So we don't have a meeting. You're the one who's objecting, Ken.
We can't have a meeting of the Non-Commercial Property Owners Association because
Well,
we are not the board
Okay.
of the
We have
Non-Commercial
had
Property
meetings
Owners.
with the same title for the last 8
I
years.
don't care what we've done for the last 8 years.
We have the
It's
While you were on
time that we
board.
stop and do it right.
Okay.
Anybody object?
I have a question
It's not
on
an
that.
open
You've
homeowner
covered the financials of non-com at each meeting, so how is
We
it not
should
part
not
of it?
have.
We are not on the board.
We are
for the
not on your
non-com.
board.
I was elected not for the non-com, but for the community.
Okay,
We should
so
go ahead and amend the agenda.
So that needs to be
and
removed
not
off the
discuss
agenda.
And then just move forward with regular Cibola Vista.
there has been a lot of emails going back and forth and a lot of postings on Cibola Vista regarding the non-commercial property and the assessments and what they're for, which I have answered, and I was promptly attacked because my one question was, I wasn't sure if we were getting any type of a reimbursement of expenses. I knew there was no revenue, and I was immediately attacked for blowing smoke, so to speak. If you want to take that off the agenda and you don't want to discuss it when a lot of the homeowners here came specifically for that reason, that's fine.
No, there is an item down here to talk about Non-Commercial Property Owners Association quarterly fees. We can talk about that because the members out here have a question about the fees. What I'm saying is,
We're not on the board, we can't address it. You just said that.
no, that is not true.
That's
We
what
are-
you just said.
Can I finish my sentence?
Well, okay, yes, you can.
We cannot discuss the financials because we're not the board. But each one of us pays the $12.95 per quarter. People have a question about that payment. We can talk about it. We
Okay.
can't rule on it. We can't change it. We can't talk about the budget for it because we're not the board.
Who is the board, Ken?
Good question.
Yeah, good question.
Who is the board? The only person listed and the county assessor or whatever it is
The only person listed with the Corporation Commission
is
as
Mike
of 2017 is our former president, Michael Casano, and we are, the Non-Commercial Property Owners Association Incorporated Association is supposed to have 3 members. We only know that he signed the papers for the Corporation Commission in 2017. We don't know who the other 2 owners are.
We went down to the corporate commission office, went to the window and asked.
We're not, we haven't, nobody's opened the meeting, Ken, so we don't have a meeting yet.
Well, you're asking a question, who is on the board? We're
Okay.
trying to answer that question.
Well, I'm rescinding my question because we don't have a meeting.
Well, someone's on the board who hasn't lived in our community for over a year, so how is someone representing our community who doesn't live in the community?
Okay.
AAM,
I'll-
how is someone doing that?
Who is on the board that's not? in-
Michael Pisano does not
Michael
live in our
Fasano
community.
is the only one listed on the board.
For the non-commercial.
I'll check into it.
No, you don't need to check into it, we just did it yesterday.
That's okay, I'll go ahead and follow up and check into it myself.
Okay,
So we don't know.
let me try another tack. Let's make a motion to start the meeting, but to not discuss Cibola Vista Non-Commercial Property Owners Association financials.
Fine.
Do we have a second?
Second,
A vote?
Aye.
yes.
Aye, aye,
Okay, review the minutes from last meeting. Are there any issues? Other than the fact that we approved the financials for the NICOM and you didn't have an issue with it last meeting?
aye. That is history.
Okay, it's history, but it's a history that you perpetuated.
You bet.
You bet. So please, don't sit here and tell me that it's wrong.
Don't rag on me.
I'm not ragging on anyone, Ken.
If
You
you
just
have-
got done ragging on us.
If you have an issue,
Oh, I have an issue. Okay, so do I have I make a motion to accept the minutes as written? Anyone second? Okay. And all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstaining?
I'll abstain.
Abstains.
Okay, so two abstain, so the minutes are not accepted. Financial review for the commercial, is that okay? Can we look at those?
No, it's for the community.
For the community? Can we look at those? I just want to make sure we're in order. Any questions related to the financials? If there are no questions, I'll make a motion that we accept the financials as presented. All those in, I'm sorry, second?
With the exception of non-commercial.
We're not talking about the non-commercial right
I
now.
just want to make sure.
Okay, I was clear with my motion, but do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, old business, let's talk about old business, the painting project.
Okay, excuse me, you're right.
Thank you, okay? I'm right about the next issue being here. Can you give us an update, please?
The painting company can start at the end of November as long as the board can agree to start at the end of November.
I have a question on that.
Sure.
On the painting project, I know that there, some of the walls are going to have some work to repair them. Is the price that they gave us before including the repair?
The
It includes
walls?
the walls, yes.
Yes, but the wrought iron,
No.
no, not the repair.
Have they been instructed to get us a bid for the iron? And have they given us a time frame as to when we can expect it?
Probably another week or so.
Okay.
So we're moving forward then with the paint.
No, you're going to have to get a price for the repair of the.
There are two
wrought
separate
iron.
bids. The walls are
But
one,
we can go ahead with the wall.
but the
The
wrought
painting
iron
and the
is
walls
So
separate.
are already
the
what we've
repairs of
approved.
the cracks, we're gonna go ahead and paint without.
No,
a
this
bid?
is
That
They're
includes,
gonna fix them.
the walls
Is
include the
the
crack
walls
fill.
included?
The walls and the painting are included in what we've already approved.
Okay, so then we can't paint the wrought iron
That
because
is
we don't
correct.
have a price?
That is
On the
correct.
repairs to the metal.
Okay.
They're separate bids.
So when they're in the middle of their painting, then when they come to a repair, they stop, don't paint it?
On the wrought iron?
Yes.
It was never, okay, there's one bid for painting your block walls. It was
So
bid
you-
out in two separate, let me finish
Okay, you're
please.
proceeding to do block walls only. painting.
Well, I'm not proceeding to do anything until the board can agree on
I
it.
agree.
The
What are we
block wall,
proposing?
if you let me finish, I can tell you. The block wall bid was a completely separate from the wrought iron, because originally when you bid it out, you didn't bid out wrought iron, so that was an addition. It's completely separate. The block walls include the crack fill, scrape, that stuff to paint. The wrought iron is a completely separate situation. It's completely separate bid, and there are repairs that need to be done to the wrought iron, so they will get you that. So again, there's two separate situations. Either the board can move forward on the block walls, and then wait for the bid on the repairs on the wrought iron before you start the wrought iron. But they're not gonna do them one and the same at the same time, because it's not the same type of paint or work.
So the proposal is to proceed with the painting of the block and repairs of the block wall.
And there doesn't need to be a proposal. We have already approved it.
So
All we're saying is that we're starting in November.
I hadn't finished my sentence. So the board had approved that portion in April. Is that correct?
I said 5 minutes ago, yes.
We never agreed on a color, so how do we start?
That's the next piece.
Well, that would be the decision that you guys need to set up, that you're choosing your colors.
Well,
They're
that was
gonna start
discussed
prepping,
in
you guys
April.
can choose it.
That was discussed in April, though, that should have already been done. The
Okay.
palette should have been emailed to us or sent to us somehow,
How about
because
having,
now it's October.
how about having some members who are interested in colors form a committee to, how about we ask for a committee of people who are interested in what colors we're painting our walls to make some recommendations to the board.
Why don't we just get their palette and as a board, pick the color and vote on the color via unanimous written consent or email consent?
Anybody in the audience interested in colors?
This isn't a homeowner open forum at this point.
I'm asking a question because I'm gonna say no.
When we get to the open session, homeowner session, you can bring it up.
Okay, then if you're asking me, why don't we have the board, why don't we get a palette and have the board choose, I'm gonna vote no, so.
Okay,
Because I'll wait until the people have some input.
great. And we can discuss that when we get to the homeowner session.
Sounds good.
Great.
So we can't approve the painting project because we don't know.
We already have approved it. The only thing we haven't approved is when to start and what color.
No, we don't have approval because he doesn't know what color to paint it.
Okay, next, I'm ready to.
Oh, you can approve it, but
Nope.
he can't.
Granite refresh, next item. Can you give us an update on the granite refresh?
The granite refresh, you guys did phase one, you already approved it at the April meeting, and it was bid out in 5 phases, it was bid out in 3 phases, and it was bid out in 1 phase.
That is correct.
And the board approved the 3-phase with 4 peaks, and phase 1 was done. The next phase was supposed to be in the 2019 budget. So, until we either hit the 2019 budget or the board wants to move forward in December and the invoice will come in January, which will fall in the 2019 budget. The board hadn't decided to move forward yet because we weren't at the second phase time frame yet.
Are we discussing the project that was just done, or are we?
Well, the
Phase
question
2,
was,
which
that
is
was
the
to put on
2000.
the agenda was, where are we at with the granite project? So that's
Where
what
we
I'm
are,
telling you.
we've completed.
We've already
phase-
completed phase
Phase
1,
one.
and then the board just needs to decide the timeframe of phase 2, because it's
Before we
already
go to
approved.
phase 2, I still have questions about phase 1.
Okay, well, that was the update.
Why did we take this money out of the regular budget instead of the reserve, which is where?
Because your granite isn't in your reserve study, so you can't take it out of your reserves. It's not the way your reserve study was set up.
Did we approve it out of the reserve, or did we approve it out of?
It doesn't matter if you approve it out of your reserves or your operating, it's not a reserve item.
We
So that
approve
would
the
be a
expense.
loan, and you would have to repay that money to your reserves because it's not a reserve item.
So we didn't know that when we made the approval.
No, we discussed the fact that you have ample money in your operating account so that you could do the project when we discussed it that day.
And we can't approve phase 2 at this point because we haven't approved the 2019 budget.
Who decided where the granite was going to be placed?
These maps
There were 3
were
phases on the
given
maps that
out
we
to
reviewed.
you at the time with the bids.
Okay, the people have asked that. So in effect, put it where it had already been done in the previous phase, which was a poor decision on our part. Just to let the audience know.
We had 3 phases, and we agreed on the phases that we were going to do, Ken.
The
Whether it
2
was a poor
first
decision
phases
or
that
not.
were done in 16 were done in the same area where phase 1 was done this year. The poor people in the preserve haven't seen one pebble in 10 years. That's my point. We should have, we made the mistake. We should have started in the preserve and worked backwards. That's just my statement.
Well, we didn't, and since we haven't discussed the 2019 budget yet, we can't approve the second phase unless you want it to come out of 2018's budget.
I am not done with phase 1, with what we did. Who actually checked the amount that of rock that we got from the contractor? He bid a certain quantity of tonnage. Did anybody check the tickets to see if we got what we paid for? It was like
I checked the
$75,000.
invoice, but I'm not going out and measuring the tonnage of their truck.
Well, you work for us. What do we pay you for?
How would I measure the tonnage of a truck?
Maybe you have somebody show up out in the field and at least spot check some of the trucks.
I did go out and look at the trucks, but why would I be a specialist on how much a truck weighs?
You would look at the weight tickets and see
The
what
weight
we're
tickets
billed.
show it.
I did look at what they showed me, but again, how do I know that's what's in the truck for sure?
Okay, I'm a graduate registered professional engineer. I would know how to go out and do it.
Can I say something, Matt? Excuse me.
Please.
Yes,
This is very disconcerting for me because there's no professional decorum up there right now. This is really getting almost disgusting display of an organization that I've ever seen.
I'm glad you came to
okay.
witness
There will be an opportunity
I
for you to speak.
Well, no, because you guys are shopping up there between, and there's a lot of angst, and I don't know what's going on. Second of all, I don't even know who you guys are. I live in the community, you're talking, he's talking, she's talking, you're interrupting each other, and why don't you introduce yourself so some of us who don't come here on a regular basis know who you are?
I'm Ken Palmer, I'm a board member, I live on Buckhorn Trail.
So you're the director.
I was on the board for 3 years, I was off for 3 years, I'm back on starting this year. Excuse me, what was that comment?
Are you the director, it says here?
I am just a director, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
One of 4 members.
By default, I'm Paul Pauls, I'm the president, I'm the other male on the list. I live in right off of, where do I live?
Part-time.
President.
Yeah. Woo!
I'm Kim Glover. I live in Cibola Vista for 8 years, and I live on Buckhorn Trail.
Okay.
Excuse me, Paul, where do you live?
He doesn't want to tell you where he lives, 'cause we
What?
live some-
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, sir.
No, I'm sorry, what?
She wants
Where
to
do
know
you
what street
live?
you live
She
on.
asked, where do you live?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you tell us where you live?
No, I can't.
He prefers not to tell me.
Do you live in our community?
I'm in, oh yeah, I live in Cibola.
Are you a permanent resident in our community?
Yes, I am.
Thank
You sleep more days in your
Let's
house
hear
in
it out.
our
Let's hear it
residence
out.
This is-
than
Let's finish
elsewhere?
the
This is
introductions.
not an open
Let's
forum
finish
session.
the
Let's finish the
introductions.
introduction.
I'm Michelle Ellison, I live on Gladville Road, I've lived here for about 6 years.
I'm Wendy Shepherd, I'm with the AAM.
Jean Stockard, I'm Wendy's supervisor with AAM.
I'm Tony DeMarco with AAM.
And I live on Andrea Drive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's people who don't respond to your emails.
Okay, so overseeing, or are we still
Okay,
on?
do we still have questions on the grant again? Do you still have questions on the grant?
No, I've asked my question.
Okay, let's go to the overseeding. A proposal was made to, via email, to approve that. I believe at this point, we're probably too late to oversee. So I believe that this is a moot point at this point. We made a motion to take a vote, and certain members of the board did not want to vote via email, so.
So this was on the July agenda, we were supposed to vote for it, but we couldn't have a meeting.
Right, because we also asked 6 weeks in advance of that meeting to change it, and
It was on,
2 board members wouldn't do that either, so. Okay, design guidelines changes, parking on landscaping.
couldn't have to.
Somebody put it on the agenda, what's the issue?
Where's the agenda from? 8 a.m.?
you guys sent me the topics, so I put them on there.
Parking on
and based
landscaping, I don't think anyone parks in their yards.
The design guideline modification so that they can park on granite,
On granite.
whatever you wanna call it, quarter minus landscaping,
Oh, that's a
whatever
driveway.
it
That's
may
not
be.
You gotta be careful what
Okay,
you call it.
So
however,
parking on driveway,
Board
is that what we want?
At our last board meeting, we were presented with a copy of the City of Peoria's guidelines for quarter minus. We were going to, at that point in time, vote on changing our current rules. And one of the board members had extreme issues with the wording that was presented, which is part of the city code. So at that point in time, we could not vote on it. I'm willing to accept the city guidelines for quarter minus and use that as our changes to our current rules and regulations if the board agrees. So I will make a motion.
Do we want to discuss it, or do you want to make that motion?
I
when you
will-
make the motion, somebody seconds and then the board discusses it.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the city guidelines for construction of a quarter minus driveway and allowing parking on said quarter minus, in accordance with the current code that the city of Peoria has. Second?
Can't discuss it unless there's a second. You can kill the motion if you don't agree with it afterwards, but if you want to discuss it, you should second it.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay, now you can discuss it.
Any discussion?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
What is the city code?
I have
First
a
of
copy
all-
if you'd like it.
I can't get up there, so.
Okay, it's fine. I don't have a copy for everybody, but I have a couple
You might want to get a
extras.
copy from the city too, because depending on what they hand you might be not accurate.
I have a copy from the city project, let's see.
The board
City of
needs to
Peoria
discuss it
Planning
right now.
Development,
The
which
board
is
needs to
correct.
discuss it right now, and then
City
they'll open
Code
it
on
to
there.
the membership.
Okay,
Okay,
questions?
no, I want to state something. First of all, we have to meet all state, federal, local, city laws. That's automatic. We don't have to write that in our CCNRs. That is, if you want a building permit, you have to get it. If you want to do something, you have to get it. So I'm going to oppose the motion to adopt the city into our CCNRs. Secondly, there have been a number of lawsuits where it says our CCNRs and our bylaws are written. We cannot, as a board, make them more restrictive by law. So if our regulations, our CCNRs say something, we can't then say, we don't want that, or we want less of it, or if we say you can have a 10-foot driveway, we can't say you can have an 8-foot. It doesn't matter. So this whole motion of parking in driveways is moot. There is nothing in our CCNRs that say you cannot park on a driveway.
There is. And
No, there is not.
you have received copies from our attorney, and a correction, Ken, you can make your rules and regulations
No, you can't.
more stringent. You cannot make them less stringent, so you
Yes,
cannot
we can
approve
make
something.
them less.
You cannot approve something that the city will not approve. You can make your rules more stringent, i.e., our streets in our community are owned by the city. You can park on the streets all you want. However, if the association were to pass a rule banning parking on the streets, that would be enforceable, and you would not be able to park on the streets. We can make the rules more stringent, Ken.
It doesn't say that in the CCNRs, so.
Okay. We have a
You haven't asked
major disagreement, so let's not really
take
sit
a
there
vote.
and waste time on it.
Okay, so I'm making, let's take a vote on the question then, because you're absolutely right. If you're not going to change the rules that we have in the books right now are what we have to enforce. And the rules are very clear, Ken. Would you read 4.2.1 and tell me what it says about parking?
4.22 rather.
Oh, thank you,
It's
4.22, so you know it. You can park on the driveway if you have
Hold
an
on,
equal
I'm
number
gonna
of
read it.
cars in the garage.
I'm going to read
Please read it.
section 4.22.
Yes.
The declaration expressly states that a motor vehicle, quote, may be parked on a lot as long as same were parked in the garage of the residential unit, unquote. If there is insufficient space in the garage, the declaration allows motor vehicles to be parked on the driveway of a lot. Guests are allowed to park on the driveway of the lot. The declaration also provides that, quote, no motor vehicle may be parked, kept, or stored on any lot of the common area within the property without prior written approval of the architectural committee, unquote. So the only thing it says here is, if you can't park in the garage, you may park on a driveway. Is that clear?
If you haven't, okay,
That's
I'll let you answer.
4.22.
If you have an equal number parked in the garage, you cannot use your garage for storage or living space and then park your cars on the driveway.
I agree.
different.
Our
That's different.
CCNRs say you're not supposed to put your junk in your garage, you're supposed to put your cars. So I have 3 cars, I have 3 car garages, and I put all 3 of my cars in my garage. I managed to get my junk elsewhere.
You also have
If
a
you
finished
drive
driveway.
around, you're gonna find tons of garages full of junk with cars out. I don't know how you're going to enforce that. Are we going to go and ask people to open their garage door and write them a citation if they aren't putting their car in the garage? So be it.
Okay, well, this has gone to adjudication, this has gone to an arbiter, it was already ruled upon. We already have our decision.
Wait a minute.
Your interpretation
Wait a
is
minute,
different.
Wait a minute, there's a little bit more to that sentence.
Oh, please, let's
We
see.
actually had a litigation. That is right. And
No, we
was
did not
not
have a
litigation.
litigation, we had
we
an
ended up-
arbitration.
We ended up by approving parking on a RV driveway made of Porter Finest aggregate. You happen to have signed that letter.
Oh,
got
you
it
want a
right
copy
here.
of your
That's
signature?
another-
right here?
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
your signature.
That's
There.
not.
There
That
are-
was
got
a
the
decision, okay, can we finish? That was a
Sure it is.
decision of an arbiter, exactly, I understand. But the rules on our books have not been changed.
So people
So
can do whatever
you
they want
can
if they
because
pay
you've
and
got
get
the
sued?
arbitrary.
So you're saying the other 99 people who have RV driveways and try and park on them are gonna have to sue us to get that changed?
No, what I'm saying is, we can sit down right now and put an end to all of this and approve the city code.
Well, then you could pay
No.
for all our attorney fees
Okay.
we had to do to get this.
No, that is already, and since you brought it up, I can address that.
No.
I can address that.
I thought it's only during open
I thought that was during
Yeah.
Okay, wait a
open
second,
discussion.
okay, wait,
You're
okay.
getting
Follow
off
the
track.
Well
agenda,
then, can you
please.
please hold your comments until open session? Thank you. I mean, if you don't want me to respond,
sit
don't
down.
bring it up.
That's not.
We're
And-
gonna bring it up every single meeting until it's resolved.
And-
We're gonna keep coming back, Paul.
And you keep
Maybe you
coming
can
back.
provide an address.
Andrea Drive, if you want my address, we can talk about when we're done. Okay, so as far as the parking issue, it was arbitrated.
No, it was
They-
not arbitrated.
It-
It was mediated, it was not arbitrated.
It was, okay, it was
The legal
mediated
lawyer
and
knows
a
the
decision,
mediation.
and a decision was made,
Difference.
and that decision is enforced for the people that went. Anyone else
One person out of 6